Aburu, Aboya Boshishe, Echo Oshe, Ogun, and Ochosi May. We always hit our mark, and may we continue to have patience through the process. You know? And so I wanted to discuss Ori, right? And how we listen to one's Ori. What are the things we do to connect with Ori, right? We know that there are several ways that we deal with Ori, right? We know there's several ways that we deal with Ori. So we know that Ori consists of a few different aspects, right? Ori consists of a few different aspects, but what are they? And how do we know how to talk with or deal with certain aspects of our Ori, right? We have to kind of like understand what it is, right, in the different parts so that we know whenever it's speaking, right, what is doing the speaking. It's important. So, you know, roughly, Ori, right, we talk about our head, right? We understand that it's the head, it's our destiny. We interchange this phrase, you know, a lot. Like, oh, I listened to my Ori, or I was guided by my Ori, or this is what my Ifa reading said. This is what my Odu Ifa is. All these things are aspects or parts of our Ori that we listen to. But at some point, we have to decide what aspect of our Ori takes precedence over the other. What is the thing that we're going to listen to? So a lot of times, right, you know, when people talk about Ori and listening to Ori is partly to do with, one part of it is the soul, right? Our spirit. That's a part of our Ori complex. Our mind as well, right? The things we know, the things we don't know, it's a part of our Ori, right? Our essence. That's a part of Ori as well. Our personality, right? What character traits? What do you like? If you're a fun person or an angry person, right? If you're a jokester or you're stern, right? These things are different aspects of one's Ori. But what about emotions and character? Are one's emotions, right, a part of one's Ori? Character as well, right? So the way that we interact with the world, the way that we interact with the universe, right? This is all a part of Ori, right? Because it's our perspective. Our perspective, right? And our perception based on several different things. It's Ori. So when someone says, oh, I was listening to my Ori, it's quite possible that they could be listening to emotion. Right? For the overthinker, right? The overthinker will listen to their mind, right? And we can create things that's not there. What about our personality, right? If you're a happy person, if you're a helpful person, if you're an angry person, if you're a sad person, right? Those things affect our Ori. So which thing do we listen to? How do we listen? How do we speak to the different parts of ourselves, right? If I tell us, right, that the Ori, our head, right, our destiny, has three major parts, right? Ori Inu is our character, right? So whether you're an honest person, whether you're truthful, whether you're sincere, right? That's a part of your Ori. So when you're being truthful, right, or telling a lie, that's a part of one's Ori. Right? Ori Apere, right? That's one's destiny. And that consists of three parts by itself. Akunleyan is the part that you Akunleyan, the part that you receive, Akunle Ba, the part that you bargain for, and Ayamo, the things that can't be changed. So there's different aspects of you, right, that you agreed to comply with Olodumare and the Erumale. right? There's something that Ifa or, you know, or the universe requires of you. There's also things that you require from the universe, right? Olodumare, the Orisha, the Orunmila, your family. There's things that you require, right? So there's things that they may give us that we like, right? And things that we give them that they don't like, right? Our families, right? We're born into a particular family. So whatever that structure is, whatever that dynamic is, right, is what we're faced with. This is the first thing we learn. A lot of times, especially for those in Ifa, right, it is that we must change, right, especially in the diaspora, we must change that dynamic. We must change that way of thinking, right? So it shows that even though we're born into a certain set of circumstances, that we will change those circumstances, right? We get it a lot with Arturo Rico. Arturo Rico tells us that we're leaders, right? And some of us are leaders in our family when it comes to Ifa. Ayamo, those things that you can't change. What your sex is, whether you're a man or a woman. The country you was born in. Even the family that you was born into. Those things are sealed. What about Oriode? Right? That's the other part of Ori, the part that's visible. The things that we can see about each other. Your appearance, right? Your outer head. The place where you put your gele. The place where you put your fila. Right? Those things is a part of you that's visible. Your works, right? Those things are visible as well. So understanding that, right? It helps us to kind of like look at Ori again, right? And so we have to always look at things about how we feel. That's the first thing, right? How do I feel about it? Do I like it or dislike it? Right? That's Ori. Also, the things we remember, that is Ori as well. Right? Those experiences that we had, learning your ABCs, your 1, 2, 3s, whether your parents were nice, whether your siblings were nice, right? Whether you got to travel as a child, what you was exposed to, all those things become a part of one's Ori destiny, in essence, right? Those things make up who you are. Those things are the things that got you to where you're at today. What about how those experiences impact you? Are those things a part of one's destiny? Are those things a part of one's Ori complex? They are. So when we go back and we look at emotions, right, and those determining factors on how we behave and how we move about our destiny, how we move about our life, right, our emotions play a factor in it. So when someone says, my Ori led me here, but it was a mistake. Have we all made mistakes? We have, right? Those things have become a part of our destiny. But when we learn about destiny and we learn about our mission in this life, right? We learn about Orisha, we learn about Orunmila, we learn about Olodumare and Akamara. It gives us a new way to look at destiny. It helps us to understand, right, that some of the things that we did before, right, were less desirable aspects of one's destiny. We have to have this understanding, folks. We can't walk around and say, oh, I'm doing this because my Ori got me to. It's telling us that either you have bad character, right, or you have a problem with emotion, right? Because if we receive the Ifa reading, right, is the Ifa reading not a part of destiny? So when we receive the regular reading, right, it lasts for 2 to 3 months. When we move into Isefa, we get these readings that last a year. When we get into Itefa and some of these other initiations, you know, Egungun, Baba Elegun, you know, Egbe, Iyalode, Jagun, etc., right? Obatala, Oshun. When we get into some of these other initiations, right, we get these life path energies, right? We get these life path Odus that tell us what that energy is responsible for in our life. What aspects will that thing help? So isn't it true that we're talking to Ori then? I can prove it. The whole point behind the reading, right, is to figure out one's destiny, where one's Ori is taking them. What are the tasks that one has agreed to based on Okunleyin, Okunleba, and Ayamo? Those things that was given to us by Olodumare, those things that we requested from Olodumare, and those things that we can't change. We just have to accept. This is what the purpose of the Ifa reading is for, right? So that we can listen to this aspect of our destiny, our Ori, right? It's interchangeable. When we're talking about character, we say Iwa Pele. When we're talking about character, we say Iwa Riri. Right? When we're talking about these other things, right? This is what the Ifa reading is for. Destiny, Ori. So, how is it that we know that Ori is present in the reading? Right? Does anybody know? I'm sure there's lots of people that go for Ifa readings, but what is it in the reading that helps the Ori of the client or Onwawo or Awo or whoever is receiving the reading? What is the thing that makes their Ori present? It's the Igbo determinants. We use the cowrie or the bone. Some other lineages use, several other things. These are the things that help this is how we include the Ori of the client in the Igbo. Whether they hold them or not, right? Those things are understood that it is a representation of their energy. So when we cast Ifa, right, we're asking the person's Ori, where are you going and what do you need as support? So if we're doing that, right, and we're listening to the information, right, because it is only, right, Ofunmeji tells us, Epaodu, right? Ofunmeji tells us, right? Oturiko tells us, Ofunmeji tells us, Arangu Meji tells us that it is the Ori that supports and assists human beings. So it supports us and assists us in truth by helping us to get to our destination, right? Helping us to move towards our blessing. So if Ifa, right, through your Ori, through Ifa, right, the language by which the Orisha and Orunmile speak. If the reading tells you to not drink alcohol, and you drink alcohol, were you listening to your Ori? No. If your Ori says through the Ifa reading, right, Oturiko, for example, it talks about putting away death, right? It means that Ori rejects death, our Ori rejects sickness, our Ori rejects loss, our Ori rejects contention, our Ori rejects all the Ayewo. If we go and put ourselves into it, right, this is where the challenges come from. So it is through the Igbo determinants that we include the Ori of the client, all right, or the one that the Ifa is being cast for. It is this way that we add the Ori of the client into the reading. So, like, we understand too, right? Because there's the next question is, after the reading, right, after we get the Odu, what is the orientation? So it's the orientation that tells us if the person is in acceptance of the thing or in opposition to the thing. With smooth acceptance, right, with easy acceptance, is Ire. Where there's resistance, there's Ayewo. Right? So we can be in Ayewo of Iku, right? There could be, because we're in opposition to change, our actions can bring death. Most times. Sometimes it is Iku that we need to feed, right? In order to move away from us, we can appease it in one way so that we have the abundance and long life in another. So what happens when there's refusal to change? Then we meet with challenge, right? We're able to see it in a visible way, right? Because things are not smooth. It is sometimes the death of oneself, right? One's ideology, one's actions, right? One's motives, right? One's ideology. These things bring death, especially when we have to change. Think about it, right? We can't act like a 5-year-old as a 20-year-old. You can't act as an 18-year-old as a 30-year-old. There has to be some change, right? Even though we remember those things and, you know, we bring those experiences with us, like we have to change our trajectory. We have to change our view. We have to change our perspective. We have to understand that we older, with that comes more responsibility. So what happens is sometimes we do things, right? We go places, right? We do things, right, that show us that we're in a rush. If I would tell us, don't be in a rush for success. Don't move too quickly. Be patient, right? I was on with one of the Omawo today, and we have been talking over the last couple of weeks about opportunities. So they called me and we're asking Ifa, hey, is this opportunity good? Ifa said no. Ifa said be patient, right? It even gave some type of circumstance that this particular opportunity would be in Ire. Ifa ultimately said wait. Her Ori said to wait. So it was the third, the fourth, the fifth opportunity that they received, or, you know, that was in Ire for them. But if we go on emotion, we will take the first thing sometimes that is offered. This is why we consult with our Ori, with our destiny. Where are we going to be in the future? What are we going to be doing in the future? Are the things that we're going to be doing beneficial to not only oneself, but everyone around? Doing this, right, consulting with one's Ori will help us to be balanced. It'll help us to have success, right? It'll balance our morals and ethics. It will help us to have growth. So then we get to Ebo. Ebo, right, the sacrifice, right? Because there's a material sacrifice, there's a personal sacrifice, there's these different things. These sacrifices help us to break the bonds, right, of our Ori. It helps us to break bonds so that we're able to move forward past death, past sickness, past loss, past contention, to blessing. We give something in the place of those things that are designed to stall us out. But it's still, right, it still revolves around Ori. What decisions will I make? Will I decide to offer the Ebo? Will I decide to follow the observances? Will I decide to abstain from anger? May all blessings come through that. Sometimes there's a fear of change. When we go somewhere without consulting our Ori, right, do we have the best intentions at all? If we move, right, and we know that we should consult Ori, and we move without Ori, do we want the best outcome? It's not so. Unless we have some ulterior motive. Right? We can't always rely on our experience. Right? We have trauma. We have loss. We have contention. We have lack. Right? In our past. We're trying to move forward to abundance and prosperity and contentment and peace and all these things, right? So if we move without checking with Ifa, if we move without checking with our Ori, then one has an ulterior motive. It's not possible. The people say, oh, I was listening to my Ori. It's not, you were listening to emotion. You're listening to desire. You were listening to ego. We don't teach that at Iadudu. We teach that you do the reading, you follow what Ifa says that your Ori is saying, right? Because that's what's present. That's the thing that's talking. We also do Ibori. We do Ibori. We perpetuate the head so that within this 4 or 5 day period, whether it's in this year, sometime we're going to need that support from our Ori. So Ibori is done to strengthen the Ori. The only way to clearly talk to Ori, which is Irumale, right? So you can't even deal with Ori like you deal with Orisha. Because it's Irumale. It's a thing that is on the level with Olodumare, or that was created by Olodumare. So we use Opwele, we use Ikin, right, to talk to one's Ori. We perpetuate one's Ori, right, you know, on Oshe Ifa, that's the day for Ori. We perpetuate Ori on these days, right, to give strength and support, right, so that our Ori will place us where we need to be at the right time. That if we enter into argument, or we enter into challenge, some form of Ayewo, or we enter into loss, right, so that we can avoid death, right? This is why we do Ibori. Otura Rico says, right, it says, Ahani Senu Kotomuti. Diafun Orimado Abeso Wakaka. Orimado, right, is the Ori that bears fruit, that gives something back to those around it. It gives something back. If your Ori is not giving something back that's good, right, then we should look at that. It is that our Ori is rejecting death, is rejecting loss, is rejecting sickness, is rejecting contention. It's saying that we must stay away from those. In order to receive our blessing, we must stay away from these energies. So if our Ori was in good communication with us, if we had a good relationship with Ori, right, then there wouldn't be a need, right? There would not be a need for the Odu Ifa to express it. Sometimes we need a little help. Our Ori tells us through these Odu Ifa, through casting of the Ifa, through these different things, right, what we need to do to help save our Ori. What do we need to do so that our Ori will lead us to the right place, right, to our destination? There's so many Odu Ifa to discuss it. Awanra Sobe, right? It tells us, right? It says, Ifa said that it is light. I said that it is heavy. So we in contradiction of what Ori is telling us. There's other Odu where it says that when we're going from one place to another, it's Ori that takes us from one place to another. It's Ori that moves the body. It's the body that moves the car, right? So even at work, right, it is Ori that moves the body to work. The Ori needs guidance. We should not be in resistance, right? That's Ayewo, right? And we can see through those things around us if we in Ayewo or Ire, if we're in harmony with what our Ori has said, or we in resistance to it. Right? We have to grow. We can't treat the world the same way after we know. So that's it for today. I am Oluwo Ifabileke Ele Dingbe, Iadudu Temple. Check us out, 2028 Woodland Drive, Charlotte, North Carolina. Follow us on Patreon at Iadudu World Academy. Shop with us on Etsy at Iadudu Botanica. Let us know. We can support you with your cola nut needs. Aburu, Aboye, Aboshishe.